While publishers get all the credit for a game's release, it's the developers who deserve the most attention. Through their hard work and innovative ideas, developers come together to forge great games that define generations. Even while most don't receive the recognition they deserve, we here at Press Start want to change that in a new segment we like to call Developing Devs. We start this new segment actually with a developer with his eyes set firmly on the past. Notable for such titles as DuckTales Remastered, Contra 4, Aliens Infestation, and the Shantae games, Wayforward Electronics. Beginning in 1990 as an independent developer founded by entrepreneur Voldy Way, the company started working on games for the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and several other handheld consoles. The first of which being a Super Nintendo platformer, Mickey's Ultimate Challenge, which released to moderate reviews. But while a number of traditional titles in development after this, they were all scrapped. In 1994, Wayforward was brought into a partnership with AEP, or American Education Publishing, and were commissioned for a number of licensed educational games, all based around already established properties, like Bear and the Big Blue House and Pear Harbor. For some reason, while these games earned moderate sales and critical acclaim, the developers still managed to make some games for pure fun, based off more mature properties like The Scorpion King and the 90s Godzilla film. Having found more of a sense of success and pride in these games made for entertainment, the developer left their partnership in 1997, rebranding itself as a developer for hire on traditional video games again, before taking a chance and releasing one of the last video games ever made for the Game Boy Color, a platformer simply called Shantae, which, despite being released too late for commercial success, received unanimous critical acclaim. However, while there was an interest in making a sequel, the developers found themselves unable to come up with enough interest in making a sequel. Luckily, they still managed to keep themselves busy, making several high-profile licensed games throughout the 2000s, most notably a top-down DC Comics action game, Justice League Heroes. Then in 2007, Wayforward became part of a string of video game remakes and spiritual sequels that developers were making in honor of some of their favorite games growing up as a kid. And for Wayforward, this was Contra, a series that for a time ruled side-scrolling action games, then lost itself in an attempt at reinvention and trying to modernize itself. But thanks to returning to the side-scrolling NES hard design that made the original so great, Wayforward brought us one of the best games on the Nintendo DS, with the appropriately titled Contra 4. Released to critical acclaim and commercial success. This new attention brought upon them helped Wayforward discover their true calling, as they began developing games based on a love for the games of their childhood, and using that nostalgia not to keep things in the past, but to bring them some kind of influential experience into the future. Not 2 years after Contra 4 was released, Wayforward then brought us a remake of an obscure NES title and released A Boy and His Blob for the Wii. A puzzle platformer, the game centers around a young boy traversing a dangerous land with the help of a shape-shifting blob that can change into a number of helpful items that allow players to progress through the game. They would follow this success with a number of licensed games that paid tribute to beat-em-ups from the arcade days, such as Thor: God of Thunder for the DS and Batman: The Brave and the Bold for the Wii. Even 2 years before Gearbox would destroy the entire Aliens franchise with Aliens Colonial Marines, Wayforward released an interesting squad-based horror side-scroller for the Nintendo DS with Alien Infestation to very positive reviews. But it wasn't only licensed games they would make, as they would be allowed to remake several long-dormant games as well. In 2012, they released a new entry into the Double Dragon series of beat-em-ups with Double Dragon Neon, which was a commercial success as a digital download on the PlayStation Network, Xbox Live Arcades, and Windows. A year later, they would bring back one of the NES's best platformers with DuckTales Remastered, featuring beautifully animated characters and plenty of fan service to fans of the 90s DuckTales cartoon. The added fan service and perfect recreation of the NES classic helped the game reportedly overperform its projected sales when Capcom finally released their yearly sales numbers. So Wayforward is finally a big publisher, releasing nay a bad game and an excellent track record with publishers. But something was still missing for them, and as much as they had success with other people's games and properties, the developers finally decided it was time to bring back Shantae for their first original game in 12 years, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Released to critical acclaim and nominated for Best Platformer of 2014 and Best 3DS Game for 2014. Wayforward then went directly to fans through Kickstarter to crowdfund the sequel Shantae Half Genie Hero, which is expected to be released sometime in 2015. With critical success and tons of adoring fans, Wayforward deserves more attention, not only for the great original titles, but for the amount of fan service and respect they pay to other famous franchises. So be on the lookout for these developing devs.